Right, so welcome. Happy Halloween, everyone. This is the Instant Shakespeare Company reading of the tragedy of Macbeth, working from the first folio, which is the original way this was printed was in the first folio. So even if you have edited editions, they shouldn't be too much different because the folio is their only source, unlike some of the other plays. And so this is actually really special today because we are now having completed, this will complete our first full season on Zoom, which started in April when we couldn't meet at the libraries anymore. And we're still hopeful of meeting in the libraries again whenever that can happen, but it's obviously not this year, and we'll see how soon that can. But until then, we plan to continue on Zoom. And so thank you very much for doing this. The way we sort of do it is that when we Asher, did you have a question?
Just very quickly, I've just tried something else. Is it any different, better, or worse?
About the same.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, about the same, maybe a little better. But that's, so we're going to be reading the play. I'm just going to read some stage directions, generally just sort of the entrances at the beginning of the scenes. And then sometimes, I mean, the way that we do this is it's broadcast on YouTube through the gallery view. So that what happens is that whenever you're in a scene, you should have your video on and your sound on so that we can see you. I mean, if there's a certain point where you sort of feel the character doesn't really need to be there, you can stop your video, but I leave that up to the discretion of the actors because that's one of the things about the folio is it doesn't have all of this sort of exits and things when you then look at the text and realize, yeah, they probably shouldn't be listening to that. But also to understand that the Globe had a very broad stage, so you could have people like not hearing each other. But anyway, so we work from the first folio and it's about having fun with the text. My name's Paul Sugarman. I'm the founder of the Instant Shakespeare Company. I want to thank Victoria Devaney for playmastering this and putting this together. And what we'll do before we get started is I'll just sort of point out at each person so you can introduce yourself and say what role you're doing, and then we'll get started. And unless there are any other questions before we begin. All right, Vicky, is there anything you want to say before we get started here?
No, just thank you, everybody. Have fun.
Yes.
Thank you, Vicky.
Questions. Can I just ask two questions quickly? Victoria, you gave me the servant, but I'm the servant to Lady Macbeth. Is that right?
Yes.
But later on, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Is it Seaton or Satan? That's a different servant that you've given somebody else. So I'm only that servant in Act.
Yes.
Okay.
Paul and I made a minor tweak earlier. If there's any discrepancy, I'll jump in, or Paul, if you want to jump in, whatever, either whoever's not on stage, Paul or myself.
Okay.
Other quick question. Are you planning an intermission at the ending of Act 3 when Macbeth goes off just before Hecate's scene?
Yes, please, if everyone's okay with that.
Because that'll give me time to change my wig. Is that what you're taking? I love it. Thank you.
All right.
I have a quick question before we begin too, very quickly. You also, Vicky, have me reading for the third murderer. Is he only in the scene where the murderers encounter Banquo and Fleance on the road?
That is correct. I'm going to defer to Stephen on that because he's been one of my guides.
That is correct.
Okay.
Oh no, what did I do? Hold on a second. What the hell?
Yeah, I did actually notice, Vicky, that in the cast list, you also listed yourself as the third murderer.
Yes, so that's wrong.
Okay. But yeah, because it is the third murderer who's the mysterious one who doesn't get the instructions, but then shows up and
he's also the one that points out that Fleance has run away, which is very important to Macbeth.
All right.
Almost lost, Joe.
Okay, so so Vicky, anything else before we get started? Just start introducing people? Or?
Sure.
Okay. Yes, I have a question too. I just heard the name Fleance being spoken. I just want to make sure that Fleance is only on Act 2, Scene 1. Correct?
Yes.
Perfect.
Moon is conjunct Uranus, separating from a full moon as we play this.
All righty. So, Michael, why don't you introduce yourself and say who you're doing today?
My name is Michael Gardner. I'm playing Ross and Hecate, or Hecate, however, I don't know.
All right. And David Cedar.
I am David Cedar. I'm playing the Bloody Captain, the Porter, and Lennox.
Ken.
I'm Ken Wayne. I'm playing Angus, a lord, and Seward, old Seward.
Okay. Asher.
I'm Asher Susswine. I'm leading Duncan and Old Man.
Okay. And Stephen.
Stephen Brown, and I am the second witch, and the first apparition, the first murderer, and Malcolm Canmore.
Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda Susswine. I'm playing the gentlewoman.
Oh, Linda.
Marie.
Back with you.
Marie-Christine, hi. I am Fleance and Lords, except not in Act 3.
Jackie.
Okay, Jackie Margolis. I'm doing the Doctor's second murderer and second apparition.
Oh, don't mess.
And Jackie, are you doing young Seward?
What? Oh, yeah, right. I'm doing the young Seward. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've also posted the cast list in the chat for all and for attendees. Maren?
Yes, hi, I'm Maren Sugarman. I'll be doing Donald Bain and Lady Macduff.
I'm Paul Sugarman, and I'll be doing Macduff. And Paula?
I'm Paula Hosa. I am the first witch, the third apparition, a messenger, and Satan.
And Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Sheffrin, and I'm reading Lady Macbeth.
And Alex?
I'm Alex Chilton. I'm reading Macbeth and Third Murderer.
All right. And I think that's our cast. And so we'll begin. So just a reminder, stop your video when you're not in the scene and turn it on and unmute yourself. And also just—
And I'm Miguel, and I'll be reading for Banquo.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm so
and
sorry.
Menteith, or Mentithan, that guy.
Monteith. It's Monteith.
Monteith, thank you.
Monteith, yes. Stephen, any other, if anybody has any pronunciation questions of any of the names?
Jacques
Fleance rather than Fleance.
Fleance. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, The Tragedy of Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Actus primus, scena prima. Thunder and lightning, enter three witches.
When shall we three meet again?
When
In thunder, lightning, or in rain?
When the hurly-burly is done, or when the battle's lost and won.
That will be ere the set of sun.
Where the place?
Upon the heath.
There to meet with Macbeth.
Aye, come, Grey Malkin.
Paddock
calls anon. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air.
What bloody man is that? He can report, as seemeth by his plight, of the revolt in the estate. Have I not heard?
Malcolm?
This is the sergeant who, like a good and hardy soldier, fought against my captivity. Hail, brave friend! Save to the king the knowledge of the broil as thou didst leave it.
Doubtful it stood, as two spent swimmers that do cling together and choke their art. The merciless MacDonald, worthy to be a revel, for to that multiplying villainies of nature who swarm upon him from the Western Isles, of kerns and gullo grocers is supplied, and fortune on his damned quarry smiling showed like a rebel's whore. But all's too weak for brave Macbeth. Well he deserves the name, disdaining fortune with his brandished steel, which smote with bloody execution, like valor's minion, carved out his passage till he faced the slave, which never shook hands nor bade farewell to him, till he unseamed him from the nave to the chops, and fixed his head upon our battlements.
O valiant cousin, worthy gentleman,
As whence the sun gins his reflection, shipwracking storms and direful thunders, so from that spring, whence comfort seemed to come, discomfort swells. Mark, King of Scotland, mark, no sooner justice had, with valor armed, compelled these skipping kerns to trust their heels, but the Norwegian lord, surveying vantage with furbished arms and new supplies of men, began a fresh assault.
dismayed not this our captains, Macbeth and Banquo?
Yes, as sparrows, eagles, or the hare, the lion. If I say sooth, I must report there were as cannons overcharged with double cracks, so they doubly redoubled strokes upon the foe, except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds, or memorize another Golgotha, I cannot tell. But I am faint. My gashes cry for help.
So well thy words become thee as thy wounds. They smack of honor both. Go, get him surgeons. Who comes here?
The worthy Thane of Ross.
What haste looks through his eyes? So should he look that seems to speak things strange.
God save the king.
Whence camest thou, worthy Thane?
From Fife, great king, where the Norwegian banners flout the sky and fan our people cold. Norway himself, with terrible numbers, assisted by that most disloyal traitor, the Thane of Cawdor, began a dismal conflict, till that Bellona's bridegroom, Lapton Proof, confronted him with self-comparisons, point against point, rebellious arm against arm, curbing his lavish spirit. And to conclude, the victory fell on us.
Great happiness.
That now Svino, the Norway's king, craves composition, nor would we deign him burial of his men till he dispersed at St. Comb's Inch $10,000 to our general use.
No more that Thane of Cawdor shall deceive our bosom interest. Go, pronounce his present death, and with his former title, greet Macbeth.
I'll see it done.
What he hath lost, noble Macbeth hath won.
Tina Tertia, thunder, enter the three witches.
Where hast thou been, sister?
Telling swine.
Sister, where art thou?
A sailor's wife had chestnuts in her lap, and munched and munched and munched. Give me, quoth I. Around thee, witch, the rump-fed Runyon cries. Her husband's to Aleppo gone, master of the tiger. But in a sieve I'll hither sail, and like a rat without a tail, I'll do, and I'll do.
I'll give thee a wind.
Thou'rt kind.
And I another.
I myself have all the other, and the very ports they blow, all the quarters that they know, i' the shipman's card. I'd drain him dry as hay, sleep neither night nor day, hang upon his penthouse lind, he shall live, a man forbid. Wearisome nights, 9 times 9 shall he dwindle, peak and pine. Though his bark cannot be lost, yet it shall be tempest tossed. Look what I have.
Show me, show me.
Here I have a pilot's thumb, racked as homeward he did come.
A drum, Macbeth's a come.
The weird
Holy
sisters,
hand in hand, posters of the sea and land, thus to go about, thrice to thine, and thrice to mine, and thrice again to make up nine. Peace, the charms wound up.
So foul and fair a day I have not seen.
How far is call to force? What are these? So withered and so wild in their attire, that look not like the inhabitants of the earth, and yet are on't. Live you, or are you aught that man may question? You seem to understand me, by each at once her choppy finger laying upon her skinny lips. You should be women, and yet your beards forbid me to interpret that you are so.
Speak, if you can. What are you?
All hail, Macbeth! Hail to thee, Thane of Glamis!
All hail, Macbeth! Hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor!
You're muted, witch.
All hail, Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter!
Good sir, why do you start and seem to fear things that do sound so fair? In the name of truth, are ye fantastical, or that indeed which outwardly ye show? My noble partner you greet with present grace, great prediction, and of noble having, and royal hope, that he seems wrapped withal. To me, you speak not. If you can look into the seeds of time, and say which grain will grow and which will not, speak then to me, who neither beg nor fear your favors nor your hate.
Hail!
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 Lesser than Macbeth, and greater.
Not so happy, yet much happier.
Thou shalt get kings, though thou be none. So all hail Macbeth and Banquo.
Banquo and Macbeth, all hail.
Stay, you imperfect speakers. Tell me more. By Sinel's death I know I am Thane of Glamis, but how of Cawdor? The Thane of Cawdor lives a prosperous gentleman, and to be king stands not within the prospect of belief, no more than to be Cawdor. Say from whence you owe this strange intelligence, or why, upon this blasted heath, you stop our way with such prophetic greeting. Speak, I charge you.
The earth hath bubbles as the water has, and these are of them. Whither are they vanished?
Into the air. And what seemed corporal melted as breath into the wind. Would they had stayed.
Were such things here as we do speak about? Or have we eaten on the insane root that takes the reason prisoner?
Your children shall be kings.
You shall be king.
And Thane of Cawdor too, went it not so?
To the self-same tune and words. Ha! Who's here?
Enter Ross and Angus.
The king has happily received, Macbeth, the news of thy success. And when he reads thy personal venture in the rebel's sight, his wonders and his prayers do contend which should be thine or his. Silenced with that, and viewing over the rest of the self-same day, it finds thee in the stout Norwegian ranks, nothing afeard of what they selves dismake. Strange images of death, as sick as tale, can post with post, and every one did bear thy praises in his kingdom's great defense, and poured them down before them.
We are sent to give thee from our royal master thanks, only to herald thee into his sight, not pay thee.
And for an earnest of a greater honor, he bid me from him call thee Thane of Cawdor, in which addition, hail most worthy Thane, for it is thine.
What? Can the devil speak true?
The Thane of Cawdor lives. Why do you dress me in borrowed robes?
Who was the Thane lives yet, but under heavy judgment bears that life which he deserves to lose. Whether he was combined with those of Norway, or did line the rebel with hidden help and vantage, or that with both he labored in his country's wrack, I know not. But treason's capital, confessed and approved, have overthrown him.
Glamis and Thane of Cawdor, the greatest is behind. Thanks for your pains. Do you not hope your children shall be kings, when those that gave the Thane of Cawdor to me promised no less to them?
That trusted home might yet enkindle you onto the crown, besides the Thane of Cawdor. But 'tis strange, and oftentimes, to win us to our harm, the instruments of darkness tell us truths, win us with honest trifles, to betray us in deepest consequence. Cousins, a word, I pray you.
Two truths are told, as happy prologues to the swelling act of the imperial theme. I thank you, gentlemen. This supernatural soliciting cannot be ill, cannot be good. If ill, why hath it given me earnest of success, commencing in a truth? I am Thane of Cawdor. If good, why do I yield to that suggestion, whose horrid image doth unfix my hair, and make my seated heart knock at my ribs against the use of nature? Present fears are less than horrible imaginings. My thought, whose murder yet is but fantastical, shakes so my single state of man that function is smothered in surmise, and nothing is but what is not.
Look how our partner's rapt.
If chance will have me king, why then chance may crown me without my stir.
New honors come upon him like our strange garments, cleave not to their mold, but with the aid of use.
Come what come may, time and the hour runs through the roughest day.
Worthy Macbeth, we stay upon your leisure.
Give me your favor, my dull brain was wrought with things forgotten. Kind gentlemen, your pains are registered where every day I turn the leaf to read them. Let us toward the king. Think upon what hath chanced, and at more time, the interim having weighed it, let us speak our free hearts each to other.
Very gladly.
Till then, enough. Come, friends.
Flourish. Enter King Lennox, Malcolm, Donalbain, and attendants.
Is execution done in Cawdor, or not those on commission yet returned?
My lord, they are not yet come back, but I have spoke with one that saw him die, who did report that, very frankly, he confessed his treasons, implored your highness pardon, and set forth a deep repentance. Nothing in his life became him like the leaving of it. He died as one that had been studied in his death to throw away the dearest thing he owed, as 'twere a careless trifle.
There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust. Oh, worthiest cousin, the sin of my ingratitude even now weighs heavy on me. Thou art so far before that swiftest wing of recompense is slow to overtake thee. Would thou hadst less deserved that the proportion of both of thanks and payment might have been mine. Only I have left to say, more is thy due than more than all can pay.
The service and the loyalty I owe in doing it pays itself. Your highness' part is to receive our duties, and our duties are to your throne and state, children and servants, which do but what they should, by doing everything safe toward your love and honor.
Welcome hither. I have begun to plant thee, and will labor to make thee full of growing. Noble Banquo, thou hast no less deserved, there must be known, no less to have done so. Let me enfold thee and hold thee to my heart.
There, if I grow, the harvest is your own.
My plenteous joys, wanton in fullness, seek to hide themselves in drops of sorrow. Sons, kinsmen, thanes, and you, whose place are the nearest, know we will establish our estate upon our eldest, Malcolm, when we name hereafter the Prince of Cumberland, which honor must not unaccompanied invest him only, but signs of nobleness, like stars, shall shine on all deservers, from hence to Inverness, and bind us further to you.
The rest is labor which is not used for you. I'll be myself the harbinger, and make joyful the hearing of my wife with your approach. So humbly take my leave.
My worthy Cawdor.
The Prince of Cumberland. That is a step on which I must fall down, or else o'erleap, for in my way it lies. Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my black and deep desires. The eye wink at the hand, yet let that be which the eye fears when it is done to see.
True, worthy Banquo. He is full so valiant, and in his commendations I am fed. It is a banquet to me. Let's after him whose care is gone before to bid us welcome. It is a peerless kinsman.
Enter Macbeth's wife alone with a letter.
They met me in the day of success, and I have learned by the perfect report they have more in them than mortal knowledge. When I burnt in desire to question them further, they made themselves air, into which they vanished. Whiles I stood wrapped in wonder of it, came missives from the king, who all hailed me Thane of Cawdor, by which title before these wayward sisters saluted me, and referred me to the coming of time, with Hail King that shalt be. This have I thought good to deliver thee, my dearest partner of greatness, that thou mightst not lose the dues of rejoicing by being ignorant of what is greatness is promised thee. Lay it to thy heart and farewell. Glamis thy heart, thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature, it is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. What thou wouldst highly, that wouldst thou holily, wouldst not play false, and yet wouldst wrongly win. Thou'st have great Glamis, that which cries, thus thou must do it, thou have it. And that which rather thou doest fear to do, than wish it should be undone. Hie thee hither, that I may power my spirits to thine ear, and chastise with the valor of my tongue all that impedes thee, the golden round, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have thee crowned withal. What is your tidings?
The king comes here tonight.
Thou art mad to say it. Is not thy master with him? Who word so would have informed for preparation?
So please you, it is true, our Thane is coming. One of my fellows had the speed of him, who almost dead for breath, had scarcely more than would make up his message.
Give him tending. He brings great news. The raven himself is horse, that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits, that tend on mortal thoughts. Unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up access and passage to remorse, and no compunctions visiting of nature shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and hit. Come to my woman's breasts and take my milk for gall, you murthering ministers, wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief. Come, thick night, impale thee in the dunnest smoke of hell, that my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark, to cry, hold, hold. Great Glamis, worthy Cawdor, greater than both, by the all hail hereafter. Thy letters have transported me beyond this ignorant present, and I feel now the future in the instant.
My dearest love, Duncan comes here tonight.
And when goes hence?
Tomorrow, as he purposes.
Oh, never shall sun that morrow see. Your face, my Thane, is as a book where men may read strange matters to beguile the time. Look, like the time, bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent underneath. He that's coming must be provided for, and you shall put these nights' great business into my dispatch, which shall to all our nights and days to come give solely sovereign sway and masterdom.
We will speak further.
Only look up clear. To alter favor ever is to fear. Leave all the rest to me.
Oh, boys and torches, enter King, Malcolm, Donalbain, Banquo, Lennox, Macduff, Ross, Angus, and attendants.
This castle hath a pleasant seat. The air nimbly and sweetly recommends itself into our gentle senses.
This guest of summer, the temple-haunting Bartlett does approve, by his loved mansionry, that the heaven's breath smells wooingly here. No jutty, frieze, buttress, nor coign of vantage, but this bird hath made his pendant bed, and procreant cradle, where they must breed and haunt. I have observed the air is delicate.
See our honored hostess. The love that follows us sometime is our trouble, which still we thank as love. Herein I teach you how you shall bid God yield us for your pains, and thank us for your trouble.
All our service, in every point, twice done, and then done double, were poor and single business to contend against those honors deep and broad, wherewith your majesty loads our house. For those of old and late dignities heaped up to them, we rest your emirates.
Where is the Thane of Cawdor? We coursed him at the heels, and had a purpose to be his purveyor, but he rides well, and his great love, sharp as is his spur, hath helped him to his home before us. Fair and noble hostess, we are your guest tonight.
Your servants ever have theirs themselves, and what is theirs in compt to make their audit at your highness pleasure, still to return your own.
Give me your hand. Conduct me to mine host. We love him highly, and shall continue our graces toward him. By your leave, hostess.
Oh, boys, torchers, enter a server and diverse servants with dishes and service over the stage. Then enter Macbeth.
If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly. If the assassination could trammel up the consequence, and catch with his surcease success, that but this blow might be the be-all and the end-all. Here, but here upon this bank and shoal of time, we'll jump the life to come. But in these cases we still have judgment here, that we but teach bloody instruction, which being taught return to plague the inventor. This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poisoned chalice to our own lips. He's here in double trust. First, as I am his kinsman and his subject, strong both against the deed, then as his host, who should against his murderers shut the door, not bear the knife myself. Besides, this Duncan hath borne his faculties, so meek, hath been so clear in his great office, that his virtues will plead like angels trumpet-tongued against the deep damnation of his taking off, and pity like a naked newborn babe striding the blast, or heaven's cherubim horsed upon the sightless couriers of the air shall blow the horrid deed in every eye, that tears shall drown the wind. I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition, which o'erleaps itself and falls on the other. Hannah, what news?
He has almost supped. Why have you left the chamber?
Have you asked for me?
You know you not? He has.
We will proceed no further in this business. He hath honored me of late, and I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which would be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon.
Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it slept since? And wakes it now to look so green and pale, at which it did so freely? From this time, such I account thy love. Art thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem? Letting I dare not wait upon I would, like the poor calf and adage.
Prithee, peace. I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none.
What beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man. And to be more than what you were, you would be so much more than the man. Nor time, nor place did then adhere, and you would make both. They have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmake you. I have given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling at my face, I have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I so sworn as you have done to this.
If we should fail.
We fail? But screw your courage to the sticking place and will not fail. Then Duncan is asleep, whereto rather shall his day's hard journey soundly invite him. His two chamberlains will I with wine and wassail so convince that memory, the warder of the brain, shall be fume and recit of reason, a limebeck only. Once in swinish sleep, there drenched natures lies as in a death, that cannot you and I perform upon the unguarded Duncan. What not put upon his spongy officers, who shall bear the guilt of our great quell.
Bring forth men children only, for thy undaunted metal should compose nothing but males. Will it not be received when we have marked with blood those sleepy two of his own chamber, and use their very daggers that they have done?
Who dares receive it other, as we shall make our griefs and clamor roar upon his death?
I'm settled, and bend up each corporal agent to this terrible feat. Away, and mock the time with fairest show. False face must hide what the false heart doth know.
Exeunt actus secundus, scena prima, enter Banquo and Fleance with a torch before.
Ha! How goes the night, boy?
The moon is down. I have not heard the clock.
And she goes down at 12.
I take 'tis late, sir.
Hold. Take my sword. There's husbandry in heaven. Their candles are all out. Take thee that too. A heavy summons lies like lead upon me, and yet I would not sleep. Merciful powers, restrain me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way to in repose. Come, give me my sword. Who's there?
A friend.
What, sir? Not yet at rest? The king's abed. He had been an unusual pleasure, and sent form great largesse to your offices. This diamond he greets your wife withal, by the name of most kind hostess, and shut up in measureless content.
Being unprepared, Our will became the servant to defect, which else should free have wrought.
All's well. I dreamt last night of the three weird sisters. To you, they've showed some truth.
I think not of them. Yet, when we can entreat an hour to serve, we would spend it in some words upon that business, if you would grant the time.
At your kindest leisure.
If you shall cleave to my consent, when 'tis, it shall make honor for you.
So I lose none in seeking to augment it, but still keep my bosom franchised and allegiance clear. I shall be counseled.
Good repose the while.
Thanks, sir. The like to you.
Go bid thy mistress, when my drink is ready, she strike upon the bell. Get thee to bed. Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain? Ah, I see thee yet, in form as palpable as this which now I draw. Thou marshallest me the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. Mine eyes made the fools of the other senses, or else worth all the rest. I see thee still, and on thy blade indulgent gouts of blood, which was not so before. There's no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Ah! Now o'er the one half world, nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtain sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarmed by his sentinel the wolf, whose howls his watch, thus with his stealthy pace, with Tarquin's ravishing strides towards his design, moves like a ghost. Thou sure and firm set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear the very stones prate of my whereabouts. And take the present horror from the time, which now suits with it. Whiles I threat, he lives. Words to the heat of deeds, to cold breath gives.
A bell rings.
I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell.
Exit. Enter lady.
That which hath made me drunk hath made me bold. What hath quenched them hath given me fire. Hark, peace! It was the owl that shrieked. The fatal bellman that gives the sternest good night. He is about it. The doors are open, and the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. I have drubbed their posets, that death and nature do contend with them, whether they live or die.
Who's there? What ho?
Black! I am afraid they have wakened, and 'tis not done. The attempt, not the deed, confounds us. Hark! I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss him. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had had done my husband?
I have done the deed. Dost thou hear a noise?
I heard the owls scream and the crickets cry. Did not you speak?
When?
Now.
As I descended?
I.
Hark! Who lies in the second chamber?
Donald Bain.
This is a sorry sight.
A foolish thought to say a sorry sight.
There's one did laugh and sleep, and one cried murder, that they did wake each other. I stood and heard them, but they did say their prayers and addressed them again to sleep.
They are two lodged together.
One cried, God bless us, and amen the other, as I'd seen them with these hangman's hands, listening their fear. I could not say amen, when they did say, God bless us.
Consider it not so deeply.
But wherefore could I not pronounce amen? I had most need of blessing, and amen stuck in my throat.
These deeds must not be thought after these ways. So it will make us mad.
Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more. Macbeth doth murder sleep. The innocent sleep. Sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life. Sore labor's bath, balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast.
What do you mean?
Still it cried, sleep no more, to all the house. Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more.
Who was it that thus cried? My worthy Thane, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things. Go get some water and wash this filth witness from your hand. Why did you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go, carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood.
I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I have done. Look on't again, I dare not.
Infirm of purpose. Give me the daggers. Sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt.
Knock within.
Whence is that knocking? How is't with me when every noise appalls me? What hands are here? They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red.
My hands are your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white.
Knock.
I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retired we to our chamber. A little water clears the deed. How easy is it then? Your constancy hath left you unattended.
Knock.
Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, least occasion call us and shew us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts.
To know my deed?
Knock.
'Twere best not know myself. Wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would thou couldst.
Exeunt. Enter a porter, knocking within.
Here's a knocking indeed. If a man were porter of Hellgate, he should have all during the key.
Knock.
Knock, knock, knock. Who's there in the name of Beelzebub? Ah, there's a farmer that hanged himself for the expectation of plenty. Come in time. Have napkins now about you. Here you'll sweat for it.
Knock.
Knock, knock. Who's there the other devil's name? Faith, here's an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against either scale, who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. Oh, come in, equivocator.
Knock.
Knock, knock, who's there? Faith, here's an English tailor come hither for stealing out of a French hose. Come in, tailor. Here you may roast your goose.
Knock.
Knock, knock, oh, never in quiet. What are you? This place is too cold for hell. I'll never porter it no further. I thought to have let in some of all the professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire.
Knock.
Anon, anon. I pray you, remember the porter.
Enter Macduff and Lennox. Was it so late, friend, ere you went to bed, that you do lie so late?
Faith, sir, we were carousing till the second cock, and drink, sir, is a great provoker of three things.
Ah, well, what three things does drink especially provoke?
Marry, sir, nose painting, sleep, and urine. Lechery, sir, it provokes and unprovokes. It provokes the desire, but it takes away the performance. Therefore, much drink may be said to be an equivocator with lechery. It makes him and it mars him. It sets him on and it takes him off. It persuades him and disheartens him, makes him stand to and not stand to. In conclusion, equivocates him in his sleep, and giving him the lie, leaves him.
I believe drink gave thee the lie last night.
Ah, that it did, sir, in the very throat of me. But I requited him for his lie, and I think, being too strong for him, though he took up my legs sometime, yet I made a shift to cast him.
Is thy master stirring? Oh, our knocking has waked him. Here he comes.
Good morrow, noble sir.
Good morrow, both.
Is the king stirring, worthy Thane?
Not yet.
He did command me to call timely on him. I have almost slipped the hour.
I'll bring you to him.
I know this is a joyful trouble to you, but yet 'tis one.
Oh, the labor we delight in physics pain. This is the door.
I'll make so bold to call, for 'tis my limited service.
Goes the king hence today?
He does. He did appoint so.
The night has been unruly. Where we lay, our chimneys were blown down, and as they say, lamentings heard in the air. Strange screams of death and prophesying, with accents terrible of dire combustion and confused events, new hatched doth woeful time, the obscure bird clamored the livelong night. Some say the earth was feverous and did shake.
'Twas a rough night.
My young remembrance cannot parallel a fellow to it.
Oh, horror, horror, horror! Tongue nor heart cannot conceive nor name thee.
What's the matter?
Confusion now hath made his masterpiece. Most sacrilegious murder hath broke ope the Lord's anointed temple and stole thence the life of the building.
What is't you say? The life?
Into his majesty?
Approach the chamber and destroy your sight with a new Gorgon. Do not bid me speak. See, and then speak for yourselves. Awake, awake! Oh, ring the alarm bell! Murder and treason! Banquo and Donalbain! Malcolm, awake! Shake off this downy sleep death's counterfeit and look on death itself! Up, up and see this great doom's image! Malcolm, Banquo, as from your graves rise up and walk like sprites to countenance this horror! Ring the bell!
What's the business? That such a hideous trumpet calls to parley the sleepers of the house. Speak! Speak!
Oh, gentle lady, 'tis not for you to hear what I can speak. The repetition in a woman's ear with murder as it fell. Oh, Banquo, Banquo, our royal master's murdered.
Woe, alas! What? In our house?
Too cruel anywhere. Dear Duff, I prithee contradict thyself, and say it is not so.
Had I but died an hour before this chance, I had lived a blessed time. For from this instant there's nothing serious in mortality. All is but toys. Renown and grace is dead. The wine of life is drawn, and the mere lees is left as vaults to brag of.
What is amiss?
You are, and do not note. The spring, the head, the fountain of your blood is stopped. The very source of it is stopped.
Your royal father's murdered.
Huh? By who?
Lennox?
Those of his chamber, as it seemed to had done. Their hands and faces were bandaged with blood, so were their daggers, which unwiped we found upon their pillows. They stared and were distracted. By no man's life was to be trusted with them.
Oh, yes, I do repent me of my fury that I did kill them.
Wherefore did you so?
Who can be wise, amazed, temperate, and furious, loyal and neutral in a moment? No man. The expedition of my violent love outrun the pauser reason. Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs looked like a breach in nature for ruin's wasteful entrance. There the murderers, steeped in the colors of their trade, their daggers unmannerly breached with gore. Who could refrain that had a heart to love, and in that heart courage to make love known?
Help me hence! Oh!
Look to the lady.
How do we hold our tongues that most may claim this argument for hours?
What should be spoken here, where our fate hid in auger hole may rush and seize us? Let's away. Our tears are not yet brewed,
nor our strong sorrow upon the foot of motion.
Look to the lady. And when we have our naked frailties hid that suffer an exposure, let us meet and question this most bloody piece of work, to know it further. Fears and scruples shake us. In the great hand of God I stand, and thence, against the undivulged pretense, I fight with treasonous malice.
And so do I.
So all. Let's briefly put on manly readiness and meet at the hall together.
Well contented.
Well contented.
What will you do? Let's not consort with them to show an unfelt sorrow is an office which the false man does easily. I'll to England.
To Ireland, I. Our separated fortune shall keep us both the safer. Where we are, there's daggers in men's smiles. The near in blood, the nearer bloody.
This murderous shaft the shot hath not yet alighted, and our safest way is to avoid the aim. Therefore to horse, and let us not be dainty of leave-taking, but shift away. Here's warrant in that theft which steals itself when there's no mercy left.
Enter Ross with an old man.
10 I can remember well, within a volume of which time I have seen hours dreadful and things strange, but this sore night hath trifled former knowings.
Ah, good father, thou seest the heavens as troubled with man's act, threatens his bloody stage. By the clock 'tis day, and yet dark night strangles the travelling lamp. That darkness does the face of earth and tomb, when living light should kiss it.
'Tis unnatural, even like the deed that's done. On Tuesday last, a falcon towering in her private place was by a mousing owl hawked at and killed.
And Duncan's horses, a thing most strange and certain, beauteous and swift, the minions of their race, turned wild in nature, broke their stalls, flung out, contending against obedience as they would, make war with mankind.
'Tis said they ate each other.
They did so, to the amazement of mine eyes that looked upon it. Here comes the good Macduff. How goes the good world? How goes the world, sir, now?
Why, see you not?
Is it known who did this most bloody deed?
Those that Macbeth hath slain.
Alas the day. What good could they pretend?
They were suborned. Malcolm and Donalbain, the king's two sons, are stolen away and fled, which puts upon them suspicion of the deed.
'Gainst nature still. Thriftless ambition that will raven up their own lives means? Then 'tis most like the sovereignty will fall upon Macbeth.
He is already named and gone to Scone to be invested.
Where's Duncan's body?
Carried to Colmkill, the sacred storehouse of his predecessors and guardians of their bones.
Were you to Scone?
No, cousin, I'll to Fife.
I will thither.
Well, may you see things well done there. Adieu, lest our old robes sit easier than our new.
Farewell, father.
God's benison go with you and with those that would make good of bad and friends of foes. Distertius sine prima inter banquo.
Thou hast it now. King, Cawdor, Glamis, all, as the weird women promised. And I fear thou playedst most foully for it. Yet it was said it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. If there come truth from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, their speeches shine, why, by the verities on thee made good, may they not be my oracles as well, and set me up in hope? But hush, no more.
Senate sounded. Enter Macbeth as king, lady, Lennox, Ross, lords, and attendants.
Here's our chief guest.
If he had been forgotten, it had been as a gap in our great feast, in all things unbecoming.
Tonight, we hold a solemn supper, sir, and I'll request your presence.
Let your highness command upon me, to the which my duties are with a most indissoluble tie forever knit.
Ride you this afternoon?
Aye, my good lord.
We should have else desired your good advice, which still hath been both grave and prosperous in the days of council, but we'll take tomorrow. As far you ride?
As far, my lord, as will fill up the time twixt this and supper. Go not my horse the better. I must become a borrower of the night for a dark hour for twain.
Fail not our feast.
My lord, I will not.
We hear our bloody cousins are bestowed in England and Ireland, not confessing their cruel parricide, filling their heart hearers with strange invention. But of that tomorrow, when therewithal we shall have cause of state, craving us jointly. Have you to horse, adieu, till you return at night. It goes flayance with you.
Aye, my good lord, our time does call upon us.
We wish your horses swift and sure of foot, and so I do commend you to their backs. Farewell. Let every man be master of his time till 7 tonight to make society the sweeter welcome. We will keep ourself till supper time alone. While then, God be with you. Sirrah, a word with you. Attend those men our pleasure.
They are, my lord, without the palace gate.
Bring them before us. To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus. Our fears in Banquo stick deep, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. 'Tis much he dares, and to that dauntless temper of his mind, he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valor to act in safety. There is none but he whose being I do fear, and under him my genius is rebuked, as it is said Mark Antony's was by Caesar. When he chid the sisters, when first they put the name of king upon me, and bade them speak to him. Then prophet-like they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown, and put a barren scepter in my gripe, thence to be wrenched by an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. If it be so, for Banquo's issue have I filed my mind. For them, the gracious Duncan have I murdered, put rancors in the vessel of my peace, only for them, and mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man, to make them kings, the seeds of Banquo kings. Rather than so, come fate into the list, and champion me to the utterance. Who's there?
Enter servant and 2 murderers.
Now go to the door and stay there till we call. Was it not yesterday we spoke together?
It was, so please your highness.
Well then. Now, have you considered of my speeches? Know that it was he, in times past, which held you so under fortune, which you thought had been our innocent self. This I made good to you in our last conference, passed in probation with you, how you were borne in hand, how crossed the instruments who wrought with them, and all things else that might to half a soul and to a notion crazed say, thus did Banquo.
You made it known to us.
I did so, and went further, which is now our point of second meeting. Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go? Are you so gospel to pray for this good man and for his issue, whose heavy hand hath bowed you to the grave and beggared yours forever?
We are men, my liege.
Aye, in the catalogue you go for men, as hounds and greyhounds, mongrels, spaniels, curs, choughs, water rugs, and demi-wolves are clipped all by the name of dogs. The valued file distinguishes the swift, the slow, the subtle, the housekeeper, the hunter, every one according to the gift which bounteous nature hath in him closed, whereby he does receive particular addition from the bill that writes them all alike, and so of men. Now, if you have a station in the file not of the worst rank of mankind, say it, and I will put that business into your bosoms, whose execution takes your enemy off, grapples you to the heart and love of us, who wear our health but sickly in his life, which in his death were perfect.
I am one, my liege, whom the vile blows and buffets of the world has so incensed that I am reckless what I do to sprite the world.
And I another, so weary with disasters tugged with fortune that I would set my life on any chance to mend it. Oh, be rid of it.
Both of you know Banquo was your enemy.
True, my lord.
So is he mine, and in such bloody distance that every minute of his being thrusts against my nearest of life. And though I could, with barefaced power, sweep him from my sight and bid my will avouch it, yet I must not. For certain friends that are both his and mine, whose loves I may not drop but wail his fall, who I myself struck down. And thence it is that I to your assistance do make love, masking the business from the common eye, for sundry weighty reasons.
We shall, my lord, perform what you command us.
Though our lives will we go on the...
So your spirits shine through you. Within this hour at most, I will advise you where to plant yourselves, acquaint you with the perfect spy, the time, the moment on't, for it must be done tonight. And something from the palace always thought that I require a clearness, and with him to leave no rubs nor botches in the work. Fleance his son, that keeps him company, whose absence is no less material to me than is his father's, must embrace the fate of that dark hour. Resolve yourselves apart. I'll come to you anon.
We are resolved, my lord.
I'll call upon you straight. Abide within. It is concluded. Banquo, thy soul's flight, if it find heaven, must find it out tonight.
Exeunt. Enter Macbeth's lady and his servant.
Is Banquo gone from court?
Aye, madam.
Aye, madam, but returns again tonight.
Say to the king I would attend his leisure for a few words.
Madam, I will.
Naught's had, all's spent. Where our desire is got without content. To safer, to be that which we destroy, than by destruction dwell in doubtful joy. How now, my lord? Why do you keep alone? Of sorriest fancies your companions making, using those thoughts which should indeed have died, with them they think on. Things without all remedy should be without regard. What's done is done.
We have scorched the snake, not killed it. She'll close and be herself, whilst our poor malice remains in danger of her former tooth. But let the frame of things disjoint, both the worlds suffer, ere we will eat our meal in fear, and sleep in the affliction of these terrible dreams, which shake us nightly. Better be with the dead, whom we, to gain our peace, have sent to peace, than on the torture of the mind to lie in restless ecstasy. Duncan is in his grave. After life's fitful fever, he sleeps well. Treason has done his worst. Nor steel, nor poison, malice domestic, foreign levy, nothing can touch him further.
Come on. Gentle my lord, sleek o'er your rugged looks. Be bright and jovial among your guests tonight.
Shall I love, and so I pray be you. Let your remembrance apply to Banquo. Present him eminence both with eye and tongue. Unsafe the while that we must lave our honors in these flattering streams and make our faces visits to our hearts, disguising what they are.
You must leave this.
Oh, full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife. Thou know'st that Banquo and his flayons lives.
But in them nature's copies not return.
There's some comfort yet. They're assailable. Then be thou jocund. Ere the bat hath flown his cloistered flight, ere to black Hecate summons the shard-born beetle with his drowsy hums hath rung night's yawning peal, there shall be done a deed of dreadful note.
What's to be done?
Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed. Come, sealing night, scarf up the tender eye of pitiful day, and with thy bloody and invisible hand, cancel and tear to pieces that great bond which keeps me pale. Light thickens, and the crow makes wing to the rooky wood. Good things of day begin to droop and drowse, whilst night's black agents to their praise do rouse. Thou marvelst at my words, but hold thee still. Things bad begun make strong themselves by ill. So prithee, go with me.
Enter three murderers.
But who did bid thee join with us?
Macbeth.
He needs not our mistrust, since he delivers our offices and what we have to do to the direction just.
Then stand with us. The west yet glimmers with some streaks of day, now spurs the lated traveller of pace to gain the timely inn, and near approaches the subject of our watch.
Hark! I hear horses.
Give us a light there. Ho!
And 'tis he. The rest that are within the note of expectation already are in the court.
The horses go about.
Almost a mile, but he does usually, so all men do, from hence to the palace gate, make it their walk.
Enter Banquo and Fleance with a torch.
A light, a light.
'Tis he.
Stand to!
Will be rain tonight.
Let it come down!
Oh, treachery! Fly, good Fleance, fly, fly, fly! Thou mayst revenge. Oh, slave!
Who did strike out the light?
What's not the way?
There's but one down. The sun is fled.
We have lost perhaps half of our affair.
Well, let's away and say how much is done.
Exeunt. Banquet prepared. Enter Macbeth, Lady, Ross, Lennox, lords, and attendants.
You know your own degrees. Sit down. And at first to last, the hearty welcome.
Thanks, your majesty.
Ourself will mingle with society and play the humble host. Our hostess keeps her state. But in the best time, we will require her welcome.
Pronounce it for me, sir, to all our friends. We will require her welcome. Oh, for my heart speaks, they are welcome.
See, they encounter thee with their hearts' thanks. Both sides are even. Here, I'll sit in the midst. Be large in mirth. Anon, we'll drink a measure. The table round. There's blood upon thy face.
Banquos then.
'Tis better thee without than he within. Is he dispatched?
My lord, his throat is cut, that I did for him.
Thou art the best of the cutthroats. Yet, he's good that did the like for Fleance. If thou didst it, thou art the nonpareil.
Most royal sir, Fleance escaped.
Then comes my fit again. I had else been perfect, whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air, but now I'm cabined, cribbed, confined, and bound in to saucy doubts and fears. But Banquo's safe?
Aye, my good lord, safe in a ditch he bides, with 20 trenched gashes on his head, the least of death to nature.
Thanks for that. There the grown serpent lies. The worm that's fled hath nature, and that in time will venom breed. No teeth for the present. Get thee gone. Tomorrow we'll hear ourselves again.
My royal lord, you do not give the cheer. The feast is sold that is not often vouched while 'tis a making. 'Tis given with welcome. To feed were best at home. From thence the sauce to meat is ceremony. Meeting were bare without it.
Enter the ghost of
Remembrance, sir. Now, good digestion wait on appetite, and health to both.
May it please your highness sit?
Here had we now our country's honor roofed, were the graced person of our Banquo present, who, may I rather challenge for unkindness than pity for mischance.
His absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise. Please it your highness to grace us with your royal company.
The table's full.
Here's a place reserved, sir.
Where?
Here, my good lord.
Which of you have done this? Which of you have done this?
What, my
good lord?
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me.
Gentlemen, rise. His highness is not well.
Sit, worthy friends. My lord is often thus, and hath been from his youth. Pray you keep seat. The fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will again be well. If much you note him, you shall offend him, and extend his passion. Feed and regard him not. Are you a man?
I am a bold one, that dare look on that which might appall the devil.
Proper stuff. This is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan. All these flaws and starts and postures to true fear would well become a woman's story at a winter's fire authorized by her grandam. Shame itself. Why do you make such faces? When all's done, you look but on a stool.
Prithee, see there! Behold! Look, lo, how say you? Why, what care I? If thou canst nod, speak too. If charnel houses in our graves must send those that we bury back, our monuments shall be the wars of kites.
What? Quite unmanned in folly.
If I stand here, I saw him.
Fie for shame.
Blood hath been shed ere now, as olden time, ere human statute purged the gentle wheel. Aye, and since too, murders have been performed too terrible for the ear. The time has been that when the brains were out, the man would die, and there an end. But now they rise again with 20 mortal murders on their crowns, and push us from our stools. This is more strange than such a murder is.
My worthy lord, your noble friends do lack you.
I did forget. Do not muse at me, my most worthy friends. I have a strange infirmity, which is nothing to those that know me. Come, love, health to all. Then I'll sit down. Give me some wine. Fill full. I drink the general joy of the whole table, and to our dear friend Banquo, whom we miss. Would he were here. To all in him we thirst, and all to all.
The
duties and the pledge.
Avaunt! And quit thy sight! Let the earth hide thee! Thy bones are marrowless, thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes which thou dost glare with.
Think of this, good peers, but as a thing of custom. 'Tis no other, only it spoils the pleasure of time.
What man dare? I dare. Approach thou like the rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros, the Hyrcan tiger. Take any shape but that, and my firm nerves will never tremble. Or be alive again, and dare me to the desert with thy sword. If trembling I inhabit, then protest me the baby of a girl. Hence, horrible shadow, unreal mockery, hence! Why, so, being gone, I am a man again. Pray you, sit still.
You have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorder.
Can such things be, and overcome us like a summer's cloud without our special wonder? You make me strange, even to the disposition that I owe, when now I think you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks, when mine is blanched with fear?
What sights, my lord?
I pray you speak not. He grows worse and worse. Question enrages him. At once, good night. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once.
Good night, and better health attend his majesty.
A kind good night to all.
It will have blood, they say. Blood will have blood. Stones have been known to move, and trees to speak. Augurs and understood relations have, by maggot pies and choughs and rooks, brought forth the secret man of blood. What is the night?
Almost at odds with morning. Which is which?
How sayst thou that Macduff denies his person at our great bidding?
Did you send to him, sir?
I hear it, by the way. But I will send. There's not a one of them but in his house I keep a servant feed. I will tomorrow, and betimes I will to the weird sisters. More shall they speak. For now I'm bent to know by the worst means the worst. For mine own good. All causes shall give way. I am in blood stepped so far that should I wade no more, to returning were as tedious as go o'er. Strange things I have in head that will to hand, which must be acted ere they be scanned.
You lack the season of all natures. Sleep.
Come, will to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that wants hard use. We are but young indeed.
Exeunt thunder, enter the three witches meeting Hecate.
Ay, how now, Hecate? You look angerly.
Hecate? Are you there, Hecate? Or did you think we were taking the intermission here?
Michael?
We're taking an intermission. Hello?
Thank you. Intermission?
I thought we were going to take an intermission here.
You'd asked at the end of Act 3. This is still in Act
Oh,
3.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Oh. So we're not taking an intermission. Okay. Can I just get a drink of water? I really thought we were taking an intermission here.
Well, might as well. Let's just take it now.
Thank
that
you.
We've stopped.
I thought that's what we
just
were...
take for we'll about 5 minutes, a little more than 5 minutes. It's like about 2:28 and a half now. So we'll start again at 2:35. Does that sound good for everybody?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Sounds good. 2:35. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. 35.
I have a question for Alex.
Yeah.
Were you the third murderer as Macbeth or as another character?
I was, Stephen and I talked about this, and I was the third murderer as Macbeth. We were talking that like he has particular interest to like coordinate it all, and he's the one who points out that Fleance has escaped, and he's like very interested in Fleance. So,
yeah. I mean that is actually a great thing for much debate and for a decision for a director to make as to who the third murderer is. Personally, I have some issues with that in that they were just talking with him and he's got to be really heavily disguised. What I've seen is like one of my sort of favorite theories of it is that the third murderer is the third witch and is not there so much to murder as to make sure that Fleance escapes to preserve the prophecy. Which I think is an interesting one. There are also various people that it could be some other of Macbeth's servants, like Seaton, so it is an interesting thing. I remember, I mean, there's so many books written expired by Macbeth and so many sort of murder mysteries as well. I don't remember the title of it, but there was one where the whole thing was the director was keeping secret who the third murderer was. And they were playing Duncan, and they got killed. They were playing Banquo, and then they got actually murdered during the show, and so nobody knew who. They had to figure out who the third murderer was to figure out who the actual murderer was. So
nice. I had an idea for like because you were talking about how like Macbeth just talked with them, and then he's in the scene with them. If that decision's made, then he's like back. What if they're like in a modern production, like if it would work, like in a modern production, if like there are two murderers and Macbeth's like on the phone with them or something like that? Like audio, making sure it's like, okay.
I think you can't deal too much with the just because he's been riding and they're in the park. And the fact of the matter, it takes time wherever they are for them to travel from one place to the other. So during that time, Macbeth could actually arguably travel with them. Or travel as well. So I mean, they're not. The scenes are not contiguous. There is a gap.
There is true, and Macbeth does make a point of it's like yes, everybody be alone. So I mean, he could be off by himself and doing it. So I can see where that works, but
there was one production where I think this was the RSC 2013. I was talking to Alex about this, where the first act ends in that banquet scene, and Banquo is there. And the second act begins with that same scene, but Banquo isn't there. I thought that was a really clever way of seeing what Macbeth sees, but then seeing what everybody else sees to begin the second act. I thought that was really kind of... That
was the Patrick Stewart one.
Was it? Is that the Patrick Stewart one? Okay. That must have been the one I saw then.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
with the elevator, it had the ghost coming up the elevator, and yeah.
Did you see it?
There was some fun stuff in that. I didn't like the Lady M in that, and I also thought that I don't know. I think it's kind of cheating to have the witches interfering in the final fight because. To me, I think it's really important that the witches disappear, that they
You know,
set the ball rolling, and Macbeth is responsible for his own end.
I used to think that too, but there was one where I saw that the witches were the servants. So they would like be in and out. They wouldn't interfere, but they would just be kind of in the back somewhere.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It's when
And that was really powerful, I thought. So I see what you're that he's still responsible for his actions, but fate is still kind of over his shoulder, making sure things go down the way they do.
Yeah, when I did it, I used I did this thing where, because it was in the round, we couldn't really have a table, so I had a big tablecloth, and the witches were holding the tablecloth. They were like the table. And they also were the trees. They were Burnham wood with the branches. So they were present, but it's Macbeth does it. I think it's important that he owns his end.
Sure. I mean, I think it's a combination of the two, like, because the witches are really, like, I read this essay about the Iliad by Bernard Knox, who collaborates with Robert Fagles in translations, great translations. And he was talking about how, he pointed out how, like, often the gods in the Trojan War are seen, like, either directly intervening or just, like, as an idea, like, from the head, that, like is invisible. And I think it's the same with, like, supernatural things like witches. Like, they are, like, things outside of Macbeth, and Macbeth does have responsibility, but they're also like a manifestation of like some of his desires too, you know? And so it's like a common, so like them, I think it's cool to like have them present, but not directly intervening in like Macbeth.
I think it's a very interesting production, or a directorial or academic thesis. But I think if you go back to the original play, the reason the play exists is because of the witches and because of the supernatural, because it was Shakespeare trying to get more money out of his patron, James I, who actually wrote books about witches. James I was, no, I mean, it's serious. The only reason the play exists, there are two reasons. One, it's because of the scene where they show the 9 Stuart kings of Scotland. Yep. Which we're about to do. And the other thing is, the fact of the matter was that he was kowtowing to James's own beliefs.
The Scottish king, the great unifier.
But it also really backfired because it freaked James out. The witch sequences were so spooky that...
Well, you know why, don't you? Because you know when they say thrice to thine and thrice to mine and thrice again to make up 9... There's what's the wonderful, the man at Harvard, the Shakespeare scholar at Harvard, wrote a book about Macbeth. And he, pardon?
Bloom?
No, I can't remember. I've got it downstairs. But the whole point about it is that what they actually did on stage were considered at that point heretical. They actually had a seance on stage, and that's what those are: thrice to thine and thrice to mine. Yeah. If you do the choreography that Shakespeare says to do, you are actually summoning the devil like Faustus, and that's what freaked him out, because James knew what they were doing. No, I mean, it's actually very interesting. I mean, if James wasn't a nutcase, then the play wouldn't have existed.
Exposing the society, the witches expose and bring them all to a point where we as an audience see what kind of society, what kind of people rule our lives, and how greedy they are, and how opportunity from the beginning, where a sailor's wife she wouldn't share. The woman, a peasant woman would not even share with another woman some chestnuts. What if I really was hungry? Every play he does has an exposure of what's going on in the society.
I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure he wrote this while in quarantine. Just throwing that out there.
Right.
Well, I mean, considering that there was a plague about every 10 years during that entire century, or both of those centuries, I mean, it's extreme.
Yeah. But you're right, Stephen, that this was something for the Scottish king, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It was the only thing. It also has to do with the gunpowder plot,
right?
On November. And it's all tied up with that.
One of many gunpowder plot plays.
Yes.
One of many gunpowder plot plays.
Well, yeah, there's so much to talk about, and we can talk about more after we get through, but we should get on with the...
this is so much more interesting.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
I am confused because I was told not to do the Lord on Act 3, and the Lords are only on Act 3, so I am confused.
You want to, I don't want to chew up your day. Yeah, because.
Okay, so I just want to know, am I doing the Lord or not? I'm okay either way, but it's confusing.
Yeah, Ken was assigned the Act 3 one a while back.
Okay,
yeah,
so
thank you so much for checking.
Okay, so I do not do anything, correct?
I mean, how was your day? You're well. I mean, we'd love to have your company.
Oh, I'm happy to listen for a little longer, but I just wanted to make sure that I was not missing my lines.
Yes, no.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. So now we will return to the tragedy of Macbeth, Act 3, Scena Quinta, Thunder. Enter the three witches meeting Hecate.
Why, ho now, Hecate, you looking girly.
Have I not reason, beldams as you are, saucy and overbold? How did you dare to trade and traffic with Macbeth in riddles and affairs of death, and I, the mistress of your charms, the close contriver of all harms, was never called to bear my part, or show the glory of our art? And which is worse, all you have done has been but for a wayward son, spiteful and wrathful, who, as others do, loves for his own ends, not for you. But make amends now. Go, get you gone. And at the pit of Acheron, meet me in the morning. Thither he will come to know his destiny. Your vessels and your spells provide, your charms and everything beside. I am for the air. This night I'll spend unto a dismal and a fatal end. Great business must be wrought ere noon. Upon the corner of the moon there hangs a vaporous drop, profound. I'll catch it ere it come to ground. And that distilled by magic sleights shall raise such artificial sprites as by the strength of their illusion shall draw him to his confusion. He shall spurn fate, scorn death, and bear his hopes of wisdom, grace, and fear. And you all know security is mortal's chiefest enemy. Hark, I am called. My little spirit, see, sits in a foggy cloud and stays for me.
Come, let's make haste. She'll soon be back again.
Enter Lennox and another lord.
My former speeches have but hit your thoughts, which can interpret further. Only I say, things have been strangely born. This gracious Duncan was pitied of Macbeth. Marry, he was dead, and the right valiant Banquo walked too late, whom you may say, if pleased you, Fleance killed. For Fleance fled, and must not walk too late. Who cannot want the thought how monstrous it was for Malcolm and for Donalbain to kill their gracious father? Damned fact! How it did grieve Macbeth! Did it not straight in pious rage the two delinquents tear, that were slaves of drink and thralls of sleep? Was not that nobly done? Aye, and wisely too. For 'twould have angered any heart alive to hear the men deny it. So I say, he has borne all things well, and I do think that had he Duncan's sons under his key, as and please heaven he shall not, they should find that what 'twere to kill a father, so should Fleance. But peace, from broad words and cause he failed his presence at the tyrant's feast. I hear Macduff lives in disgrace. Sir, can you tell where he bestows himself?
The son of Duncan, from whom this tyrant holds the due of birth, lives in the English court, and is received of the most pious Edward with such grace that the malevolence of fortune nothing takes from his high respect. Thither Macduff is gone to pray the Holy King upon his aid to wake Northumberland and warlike Seward, that by the help of these, with him above to ratify the word, we may again give to our tables meat, sleep to our nights, free from our feasts and banquets bloody knives, do faithful homage, and receive free honors, all which we pipe for now. And this report hath so exasperate the king that he prepares for some attempt of war.
Said he to Macduff?
He did, and with an absolute "Sir, not I," the cloudy messenger turns me his back, and hums as who should say, "You'll rue the time that clogs me with this answer."
And that well might advise him to a caution, told what distance his wisdom can provide. Some holy angel fly to the court of England, and unfold his message ere he come, that a swift blessing may soon return to this our suffering country, under a hand accursed.
I'll send my prayers with him.
Exeunt. Actus quartus scena prima. Thunder. Enter the three witches.
Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed.
Thrice and once the hedge-pig whined.
Harp your cries, 'tis time, 'tis time.
Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Toad that under cold stone days and nights has 31 sweltered venom a sleeping got. Boil thou first i the charming pot.
Double,
toil
and trouble.
Double, fire,
Fire, burn, and cauldron,
cauldron,
bubble. Fillet of a fenny snake in the cauldron, boil and bake. Eye of newts and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blind worm's sting, lizard's leg and howlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble. Like a hell broth, boil and bubble, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron, bubble.
Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maw and gulf, of the raven salt sea, shark root of hemlock, digged in the dark, liver of blaspheming Jew, gulf of goat and slips of ewe, slivered in the moon's eclipse, noise of Turk and Tartar's lips, finger of birth-strangled babe, Dutch delivered by a drabe. Make the gruel thick and slab, abide thereto a tiger's chaldron, for the ingredients of our cauldron.
Double,
toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron, bubble. Cool it with a baboon's blood, then a charm is firm and good.
Enter Hecate and the other three witches.
Oh, well done. I commend your pains, and everyone shall in the gains. And now about the cauldron sing, like elves and fairies in a ring, enchanting all that you put in.
Music and a song, black spirits, etc.
In the picking of my funds, something wicked this way comes. Open locks, whoever knocks.
Oh, now, you secret, black, and midnight hags, what is't you do?
A deed without a name.
I conjure you by that which you profess, howe'er you come to know it, answer me. Though you untie the winds and let them fight against the churches, though the yesty waves confound and swallow navigation up, though bladed corn be lodged and trees blown down, though castles topple on their warders' heads, though palaces and pyramids do slope their heads to their foundations, though the treasure of nature's germen tumble all together, even till destruction sicken, answer me to what I ask you.
Speak.
Demand.
We'll answer.
Say if thou hadst rather hear it from our mouths or from our masters.
Call him. Let me see him.
Power in sow's blood that hath eaten her 9 farrow. Grease that's sweating from the murderer's gibbet, throw into the flame. Come high or low, thyself and office
deftly show.
Thunder, first apparition, an armed head.
Tell me, thou unknown power.
He knows thy thought. Hear his speech, but say thou not.
Macbeth. 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 Beware, Macduff. Beware the Thane of Fife. Dismiss me. Enough.
He descends.
Whate'er thou art, for thy good caution, thanks. Thou hast harped my fears aright, but one word more.
He will not be commanded. Here's another more potent than the first.
Thunder, second apparition, a bloody child.
Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth.
Had I 3 ears, I'll hear thee.
Be bloody, bold, and resolute. Laugh to scorn the power of man, for none of women born shall harm Macbeth.
Descends.
Then live, Macduff. What need I fear of thee? But yet I'll make assurance double sure, and take a bond of fate. Thou shalt not live, that I may tell pale-hearted fear it lies, and sleep in spite of thunder.
Thunder, third apparition, a child crowned with a tree in his hand.
What is this that rises like the issue of a king, and wears upon his baby brow the round on top of sovereignty?
Listen,
But
I speak not
to
to
Be lion mettled, proud, and take no care who chafes, who frets, or where conspirers are. Macbeth shall never be vanquished be, until great Birnam Wood to high Dunstan Hill shall come against him.
Descend.
That will never be. Who can impress the forest? Bid the tree unfix his earthbound root? Sweet bodements, good. Rebellious dead rise never till the wood of Birnam rise, and our high-placed Macbeth shall live the lease of nature, pay his breath to time and mortal custom. Yet my heart throbs to know one thing. Tell me, if your art can tell so much, shall Banquo's issue ever reign in this kingdom?
seek to know no more.
I will be satisfied. Deny me this, and an eternal curse fall on you. Let me know. Why sinks that cauldron, and what noise is this?
Cowboys.
Show.
Show.
Joe.
Show his eyes and grieve his heart. Come like shadows and so depart.
A show of 8 kings, and Banquo last with a glass in his hand.
Thou art too like the spirit of Banquo. Down, thy crown does sear mine eyeballs, and thy hair, thou other gold-bound brow, is like the first. A third is like the former. Filthy hags! Why do you show me this? A fourth, start eyes, what will the line stretch out to the crack of doom? Another yet, a seventh, I'll see no more. And yet an eighth appears, who bears a glass, which shows me many more, and some I see that twofold balls and trebled scepters carry. Horrible sight! Now I see 'tis true, for the blood-boltered Banquo smiles upon me, and points at them for his. What? Is this so?
Aye, sir, all this is so. But why stands Macbeth thus amazedly? Come, sisters, cheer we up his sprites and show the best of our delights. I'll charm the air to give a sound while you perform your antique round. that this great king may kindly say our duties did his welcome pay.
Music, the witches dance and vanish.
Where are they? Gone? Let this pernicious hour stand I accursed in the calendar. Come in, without there.
What's your grace's will?
Sorry, the weird sisters?
No, my lord.
Came they not by you?
No, indeed, my lord.
Infected be the air whereon they ride, and damned all those that trust them. I did hear the galloping of horse. Who was't came by?
'Tis 2 or 3, my lord, that bring you word Macduff is fled to England.
Fled to England?
Aye, my good lord.
Ah, time, thou anticipatest my dread exploits. The flighty purpose never is o'ertook, unless the deed go with it. From this moment, the very firstlings of my heart shall be the firstlings of my hand, and even now, to crown my thoughts with acts, be it thought and done. The castle of Macduff I will surprise, seize upon Fife, give to the edge of the sword his wife, his babes, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in his line. No boasting like a fool, this deed I'll do before this purpose cool, but no more sights. Where are these gentlemen? Come, bring me where they are.
Exeunt. Enter Macduff's wife, her son, and Ross.
What had he done to make him fly the land?
You must have patience, madam.
He had none. His flight was madness. When our actions do not, our fears do make us traitors.
You know not whether it was his wisdom or his fear.
Wisdom? To leave his wife, to leave his babes, his mansion and his titles in a place from whence himself does fly. He loves us not. He wants the natural touch, for the poor wren, the most diminutive of birds, will fight, her young ones in her nest, against the owl. All is the fear, and nothing is the love. As little is the wisdom where the fight so runs against all reason.
My dearest coz, I pray you school yourself. But for your husband, he is noble, wise, judicious, and best knows the fits of the season. I dare not speak much further, but cruel are the times when we are traitors and do not know ourselves, when we hear rumor from what we fear, yet know not what we fear, but float upon a wild and violent sea each way and more. I take my leave of you. Shall not be long, but I'll be here again. Things at the worst will cease, or else climb upward to what they were before. My pretty cousin, blessings upon you.
Fathered he is, and yet he's fatherless.
I am so much a fool. Should I stay longer, it would be my disgrace and your discomfort. I take my leave at once.
Sirrah, your father's dead. And what will you do now? How will you live?
As birds do, mother.
What, with worms and flies?
With what I get, I mean, and so do they.
Poor bird. Thou'dst never fear the net, nor line, the pitfall, nor the gin.
Why should I, mother? Poor birds are not set for. My father is not dead, for all you're saying.
Yes, he is dead. How wilt thou do for a father?
Nay, how will you do for a husband?
Why, I can buy me 20 at any market.
Then you'll buy 'em to sell again.
Thou speak'st with all thy wit, and yet, i' faith, with wit enough for thee.
Was my father a traitor, mother?
Aye, that he was.
What is a traitor?
Why, one that swears and lies.
And be all traitors that do so?
Every one that does so is a traitor, and must be hanged.
And must they all be hanged that swear and lie?
Every one.
Who must hang them?
Why, the honest men.
Then the liars and swearers are fools. For there are liars and swearers enow to beat the honest men and hang up them.
Now God help thee, poor monkey. But how wilt thou do for a father?
If he were dead, you'd weep for him. If you would not, it were a good sign that I should quickly have a new father.
Poor prattler, how talkst thou?
Enter a messenger. Bless you, fair dame, I am not... Are you doing it?
Bless you, fair dame, I am not to you known, though in your state of honor I am perfect. I doubt some danger does approach you nearly. If you will take a homely man's advice, be not found here. Hence to your little ones, to fright you thus. Methinks I am too savage to do worse to you were felt cruelty, which is too nigh your person. Heaven preserve you, I dare abide no longer.
Whither should I fly? I have done no harm, but I remember now. I am in this earthly world, where to do harm is often laudable, to do good sometime accounted dangerous folly. Why then, alas, do I put up that womanly defense to say I have done no harm? What are these faces?
Where is your husband?
I hope in no place so unsanctified where such as thou mayst find him.
He's a traitor.
Now liest thou, shaggy-dear villain.
What, you age, a young fry of treachery?
He's killed me, mother. Run away, I pray you.
Exit crying murder. Enter Malcolm and Macduff.
Let us seek out some desolate shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty.
Let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men bestride our downfall. Birthdom, each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face that it resounds as if it felt with Scotland and yelled out like syllable of dolor.
What I believe, I'll wail. What know, believe, and what I can redress. As I shall find the time to friend, I will. What you have spoke, it may be so, perchance. This tyrant, whose sole name blisters our tongues, was once thought honest. You have loved him well. He hath not touched you yet. I am young, but something you may discern of him through me, and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry god.
I am not treacherous.
But Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an imperial charge, but I shall crave your pardon. That which you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. Though all things foul would wear the brows of grace, yet grace must still look so.
I have lost my hopes.
Perchance even there, where I did find my doubts, why, in that rawness left you wife and child. Those precious motives, those strong knots of love, without leave taking. I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonors, but mine own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever I shall think.
Bleed, bleed, poor country. Great tyranny, lay thou thy basest shore, for goodness dare not check thee. Wear thou thy wrongs, the title is afeared. Oh, fare thee well, Lord. I would not be the villain that thou think'st for the whole space that's in the tyrant's grasp, and the rich east to boot.
Be not offended. I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. I think withal there would be hands uplifted in my right, and here from gracious England have I offer of goodly thousands. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head, or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it had before, more suffer and more sundry ways than ever by him that shall succeed.
What should he be?
It is myself I mean. in whom I know all the particulars of vice so grafted that when they shall be opened, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow, and the poor state esteem him as a lamb, being compared with my confineless harms.
Not in the legions of horrid hell can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth.
I grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every sin that has a name, but there's no bottom, none, in my voluptuousness. Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids could not fill up the cistern of my love and my desire. All continent impediments would o'erbear that did oppose my will. Better Macbeth than such a one to reign.
Boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It hath been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and fall of many kings, but fear not yet to take upon you what is yours. You may convey your pleasures in a spacious plenty and yet seem cold. The time you may so hoodwink, we have willing dames enough. There cannot be that vulture in you to devour so many as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined.
With this, there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice that were I king, I should cut off the nobles for their lands, desire his jewels and this other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make my hunger more, that I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth.
This avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root than summer-seeming lust, and it hath been the sword of our slain kings. Yet do not fear. Scotland hath foisons to fill up your will of your mere own. All these are portable with other graces weighed.
But I have none. The king becoming graces as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them, but abound in the division of each several crime, acting it many ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell. Uproar the universal peace, confound all unity on earth.
Oh, Scotland, Scotland!
If such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken.
Fit to govern? No, not to live! Oh, nation miserable, with an untitled tyrant, bloody sceptred, when shalt thou see thy wholesome days again? Since that the truest issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands accursed, and does blaspheme his breed. Thy royal father was a most sainted king. The queen that bore thee, oftener upon her knees than on her feet, died every day she lived. Fare thee well. These evils thou repeatst upon thyself hath banished me from Scotland. Oh, my breast, thy hope ends here.
Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. Devilish Macbeth, by many of these trains, hath sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from over credulous haste. But God above deal between thee and me, for even now I put myself to thy direction and unspeak my own detraction. Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself for strangers to my nature. I am yet unknown to woman, never was forsworn, scarcely have coveted what was mine own, at no time broke my faith, would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight no less in truth than life. My first false speaking was this upon myself: what I am truly is thine and my poor country's to command. Whither indeed, before they here approach, old Seward, with 10,000 warlike men already at a point, was setting forth. Now wheel together, and the chance of goodness be like a warranted quarrel. Why are you silent?
Such welcome and unwelcome things at once, 'tis hard to reconcile.
Well, more anon. The king, comes the king forth. I pray you.
Aye, sir. There are few of wretched souls that stay his cure. Their malady convinces the great essay of art, but at his touch, such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend.
I thank you, doctor.
What's the disease he means?
It is called the evil, a most miraculous work in this good king, which often, since my here remain in England, I have seen him do, how he solicits heaven, himself best knows. But strangely visited people, all swollen, ulcerous, pitiful to the eye, a mere despair of surgery, he cures. Hanging a golden stamp about their necks, put on with holy prayers, and 'tis spoken to the succeeding royalty he leaves the healing benediction. With this strange virtue he hath a heavenly gift of prophecy, and sundry blessings hangs about his throne, speak him full of grace.
Winter Ross, see who comes here.
My countryman, but yet I know him not.
My ever gentle cousin, welcome hither.
I know him now. Good God, betimes remove the means that make us strangers.
Sir, amen.
Stand Scotland where it did?
Alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself. It cannot be called our mother, but our grave, when nothing but who knows nothing is once seen to smile. The sighs and groans and shrieks that rent the air are made, not marked. Where violent sorrow seems a modern ecstasy, the dead men's knell is there scarce asked for who, and good men's lives expire before the flower in their caps, dying, or ere they're sickened.
Oh, relation too nice and yet too true.
What's the newest grief?
That of an hour's age doth hiss the speaker. Each minute teems a new one.
How does my wife?
Why, well.
And all my children?
Well, too.
The tyrant has not battered at their peace?
No, they were well at peace when I did leave them.
Be not a niggard of your speech, how goes it?
When I came hither to transport the tidings which I have heavily borne, there ran a rumour of many worthy fellows that were out, which was to my belief witness the rather, for that I saw the tyrant's power afoot. Now is the time of help. Your eye in Scotland would create soldiers, make our women fight to doff their dire distresses.
Be it their comfort, we are committing thither. Gracious England hath lent us good seaward, and 10,000 men, an older and a better soldier none the Christendom gives out.
Would I could give answer this comfort with the like. But I have words that would be howled out in the desert air where hearing should not latch them.
What concern they? The general cause, or is it a fee grief due to some single breast?
No mind that's honest, but in it shares some woe, though the main part pertains to you alone.
If it be mine, keep it not from me. Quickly, let me have it.
Let not your ears despise my tongue forever, which shall possess them with the heaviest sound that ever yet they heard.
Oh, I guess at it.
Your castle is surprised. Your wife and babes savagely slaughtered. To relate the manner were an query of his murders dear to add the death of you.
Merciful heaven! What man, nay, pull your hat upon your brows. Give sorrow words. The grief that does not speak whispers the o'erfraught heart and bids it break.
Be children too?
Wife, children, servants, all that could be found.
And I must be from that my wife killed too?
I have said.
Be comforted. Let's make us medicines of our great revenge to cure this deadly grief.
He has no children. All my pretty ones? Did you say all? Oh, Hellkite, all? What, all my pretty chickens and their dam at one fell swoop?
Dispute it like a man!
I shall do so, but I must also feel it as a man. I cannot remember. Such things were that were most precious to me. Did heaven look on and would not take their part? Oh, sinful Macduff, they were all struck for thee. Not that I am, not for their own demerits, but for mine fell slaughter on their souls. Heaven rest them now.
Be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger. Blunt not the heart, enrage it!
Oh, I could play the woman with mine eyes and braggart with my tongue, but gentle heavens, cut short all intermission. Front to front, bring thou this fiend of Scotland, and myself within my sword's length. Set him, if he escape, heaven forgive him too.
This time goes manly. Come, go we to the king. Now our power is ready. Our lack is nothing but our leave. Macbeth is ripe for shaking, and the powers above put on their instruments. Receive what cheer you may. The night is long that never finds the day.
Exeunt. Enter a doctor of physic and a waiting gentlewoman.
I have 2 nights watched with you, but can perceive no truth in your report. When was it she last walked?
Since his majesty went into the field. I have seen her rise from her bed, throw her nightgown upon her, unlock her closet, take forth paper, fold it, write upon it, read it, afterwards seal it, and again return to bed. Yet all of this while in a most fast sleep.
A great perturbation in nature, to receive at once the benefit of sleep and do the effects of watching in this slumbery agitation. Besides her walking and other actual performances, what at any time have you heard her say?
That, sir, which I will not report after her.
You may to me, and 'tis most meet you should.
Neither to you nor to anyone, having no witness to confirm my speech. Lo you, here she comes. This is her very guise, and upon my life fast asleep. Observe her. Stand close.
How came she by the light?
Why, it stood by her. She has had light continually. 'Tis her command.
You see her eyes are open.
Aye, but their senses are shut.
What is it she does now? Look how she rubs her hands.
It's an accustomed action with her, to seem thus washing her hands. I have known her to continue in this a quarter of an hour.
Yet here's a spot.
Hark, she speaks. I will set down what comes from her to satisfy my remembrance the more strongly.
Out, damn spot. Out, I say. 1, 2. Why, then 'tis time to do it. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, fie, a soldier and a feared. What need we fear? Who knows it? When none can call our power to account, yet who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him?
Do you mock that?
The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? What will these hands now be cleaned? No more of that, oh my lord, no more of that. You marred all with this starting.
Go to, you have known what you should not.
She has spoke what she should not. I am sure of that. Heaven knows what she has known.
Here's the smell of blood still. All perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Oh, oh, oh.
but a sigh is there. The heart is surely charged.
I would not have such a heart in my bosom for the dignity of the whole body. Pray God it be, sir.
This disease is beyond my practice. Yet I had known those which have walked in their sleep, who have died wholly in their beds.
Wash your hands, put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. I tell you again, Banquo's buried. He cannot come out on his grave.
Even so.
To bed, to bed. There's knocking at the gate. Come, 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 give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed, to bed, to bed.
Will she go now to bed?
Directly.
Foul whisperings are abroad. Unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles. Infected minds to their deaf pillows would discharge their secrets. More needs she the divine than the physician. Oh God, God, forgive us all. Look after her. Remove from her the means of all annoyance, and still keep eyes upon her. So good night. My mind she has mated and amazed my sight, I think, but dare not speak.
Good night, good doctor.
Exeunt. Drum and colours enter Menteith, Caithness, Angus Lennox.
The English power is near, led on by Malcolm, his uncle Seward, and the good Macduff. Revenges burn in them, for their dear causes would to the bleeding and the grim alarm excite the mortified man.
Near Burnham Wood shall we well meet them. That way are they coming.
Who knows if Donalbain be with his brother?
For certain, sir, he is not. I have a file of all the gentry. There is Seward's son and many unrough youths, that even now protest their first of manhood.
What does the tyrant?
Great Dunisnane be strongly. Fortifies, some say he's mad. Others that lesser hate him. Do call it valiant fury, for his certain he cannot buckle his distempered case within the belt of rule.
Now does he feel his secret murder sticking on his hands. Now minutely revolts upbraid his faith breach. Those he commands move only in commands, nothing in love. Now does he feel his title hang loose about him like a giant's robe upon a dwarfish thief.
Who then shall blame his pestered senses to recoil and start, when all that is within him does condemn itself for being there?
Well, march we on, to give obedience where 'tis truly owed. Meet we the medicine of the sickly wheel, and with him pour we in our countless purge, each drop of us.
Or so much as it needs to dew the sovereign flower and drown the weeds. Make me our march towards Burnham.
Exeunt marching. Enter Macbeth, doctor, and attendants.
Bring me no more reports. Let them fly all. Till Burnham Wood remove to Dunsinane, I cannot taint with fear. What's the boy Malcolm? Was he not born of woman? The spirits that know all mortal consequences have pronounced me thus. Fear not, Macbeth. No man that's born of woman shall e'er have power upon thee. Then fly, false thanes, and mingle with the English epicures. The mind I sway by and the heart I bear shall never sag with doubt, nor shake with fear. The devil black thee, damn thee black, thou cream-faced loon, where got'st thou that goose look?
There is 10,000.
Geese, villain!
Soldiers, sir.
Go, prick thy face, and overread thy fear, thou lily-livered boy. What soldiers, Patch? Death of thy soul, those linen cheeks of thine are counselors to fear. What soldiers, Wayface?
The English force, so please you.
Take thy face hence. Satan, I'm sick at heart when I behold. Satan, I say, this push will cheer me ever or deceit me now. I have lived long enough. My way of life has fallen into the sear, the yellow leaf, and that which should accompany old age, as honor, love, obedience, troops of friends I must not look to have, but in their stead, curses, not loud but deep, mouth honor, breath, which the poor heart would fain deny and dare not. Satan!
What's your gracious pleasure?
What news more?
All is confirmed, my lord, which was reported.
I'll fight, till from my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me my armor.
'Tis not needed yet.
I'll put it on. Send out more horses, stir the country round. Hang those that talk of fear. Give me mine armor. How does your patient, doctor?
Not so sick, my lord, as she is troubled with thick coming fancies that keeps her from her rest.
Cure her of that. Canst thou not minister to a mind diseased? Pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow, raise out the written troubles of the brain, and with some sweet oblivious antidote, cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which does weigh upon the heart?
Oh, therein the patient must minister to himself.
Oh, throw physic to the dogs. I'll none of it. Come, put mine armor on. Give me my staff. Satan, send out. Doctor, the thanes fly from me. Come, sir, dispatch. If thou couldst, doctor, cast the water of my land, find her disease, and purge it to a sound and pristine health, I would applaud thee to the very echo that should applaud again. Poltoff, I say. What rhubarb, cyme, or what purgative drug would scour these English hence? Hear'st thou of them?
Aye, my good lord, your royal preparation makes us hear something.
Bring it after me. I will not be afraid of death and bane till Burnham Forest come to Dunsinane.
Were I from Dunsinane away and clear, prophet again should hardly draw me here.
Exeunt, Drummond colours, enter Malcolm, Seward, Macduff, Seward's son, Menteith, Caithness, Angus, and soldiers marching.
Cousins, I hope the days are near at hand that Chambers will be safe.
We doubt it nothing.
What wood is this before us?
The wood of Burnham.
Let every soldier hew him down a bough and bear it before him. Thereby shall we shadow the numbers of our host and make discovery ere in report of us.
Shall be done.
We learn no other but the confident tyrant keeps still in Dunsinane and will endure our setting down before it.
'Tis his main hope, for where there is advantage to be given, both more and less have given him the revolt, and none serve with him but constrained things whose hearts are absent too.
Let our just censures attend the true event. Put we on industrious soldiership.
The time approaches that will with due decision make us know what we shall say we have and what we owe. Thoughts speculative their unsure hopes relate, but certain issue strokes must arbitrate, towards which advance the war.
Exeunt marching, enter Macbeth, Satan, and soldiers with Drummond colours.
Hang out our banners on the outward walls. The cry is still they come. Our castle strength will laugh a siege to scorn. Here let them lie, till famine and the ague eat them up. Were they not forced with those that should be ours, we might have met them, dareful, beard to beard, and beat them backward home.
Ah!
Was that noise?
It is the cry of women, my good lord.
I have almost forgot the taste of fears. The time has been my senses would have cooled to hear a night shriek, and my fell of hair would at a dismal treatise rouse and stir as life were in't. I have supped full with horrors, direness familiar to my slaughterous thoughts cannot once start me. Wherefore was that cry?
The queen, my lord, is dead.
She should have died hereafter. there would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Now comes to use thy tongue, thy story, quickly.
Gracious my lord, I should report that which I saw, but know not how to do it.
Well, say, sir.
As I did stand my watch upon the hill, I looked toward Burnham, and anon methought the wood began to move.
Liar and slave.
Let me endure your wrath, if it be not so. Within this 3 mile may you see it coming. I see it moving grove.
If thou speakst false, upon the next tree shalt thou hang alive till famine cling thee. If thy speech be sooth, I care not if thou dost me as much. I pall in resolution and begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. Fear not, till Burnham wood do come to Dunsinane, and now a wood comes toward Dunsinane. Arm, and out. If that which he avouches does appear, there's no flying hence nor tarrying here. Again to be a weary of the sun, and wish the estate of the world were now undone. Ring the alarm bell. Blow, wind, come rack. At least we'll die with harness on our back.
Exeunt. Drum and colors. Enter Malcolm, Seward, Macduff, and their army.
Now, near enough. Your leafy screens throw down and show like those you are, you unworthy... What? Uncle. You worthy uncle, shall with my cousin, your right noble son, lead our first battle, worthy Macbeth, and we shall take upon what else remains to do according to our order.
Fare you well. Do we but find the tyrant's power tonight, let us be beaten if we cannot fight.
Make all our trumpets speak, give them all breath, those clamorous harbingers of blood and death. Exeunt. Alarms continued. Enter Macbeth.
They have tied me to the stake. I cannot fly, but bear like I must fight the course. Was he that was not born of woman? Such a one am I to fear on none.
Enter young Seward.
What is thy name?
Thou'lt be afraid to hear it.
No, though thou callest thyself a harder name than any is in hell.
My name's Macbeth.
The devil himself could not pronounce a title more hateful to mine ear.
No, nor more fearful.
Thou liest, abhorred tyrant, with my sword I'll prove thou lie, thou speakest.
Fight, and young Seward slain.
Thou wast born of woman, but swords I smile at, weapons laugh to scorn, brandished by a man that's of a woman born.
Alarums, what noise is this? Tyrant, show thy face! If thou be slain, and with no stroke of mine, my wife and children's ghosts will haunt me still. I cannot strike at wretched kerns whose arms are hired to bear their staves. Either thou, Macbeth, or else my sword with an unbattered edge I sheathe again undeeded. There thou shouldst be, by this great cladder, one of greatest note seems brooded. Let me find him fortune, and more I beg not. Enter Malcolm and Seward.
This way, my lord. The castle's gently rendered, the tyrant's people on both sides do fight. The noble thanes do bravely in the war, the day almost itself professes yours, and little is to do.
We have met with foes that strike beside us.
Enter, sir, the castle.
Exeunt Alarum. Enter Macbeth.
Why should I play the Roman fool and die on mine own sword, whilst I see lives the gashes do better upon them?
Turn, hellhound, turn!
Of all men else I had avoided thee, but get thee back. My soul is charged with too much blood of thine already.
I have no words. My voice is in my sword, thou bloodier villain than terms can give thee out.
Thou losest labor. As easy mayst thou the entrenched air with thy keen sword impress as make me bleed. Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born.
Despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped.
Accursed be the tongue that tells me so, and be these juggling fiends no more believed, that palter with us in a double sense, that keep the word of promise to our ear, and break it to our hope. I'll not fight with thee.
Then yield thee, coward, and live to be the show and gaze of the time. We'll have thee as our rarer monsters are, painted on a pole, and under it, here may you see the tyrant.
I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, and to be baited with the rabble's curse. Though Burnham would be come to Dunsinane, and thou, opposed being of no woman born, yet I will try the last. Before my body, I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be he that first cries, ho, enough!
Exeunt fighting, alarum, enter fighting, and Macbeth slain. Retreat and flourish, enter with drum and colors, Malcolm, Seward, Ross, and thanes and soldiers.
I would the friends we miss were safe arrived.
Some must go off, and yet by these I see so great a day as this is cheaply bought.
Macduff is missing, and your noble son.
Your son, my lord, has paid a soldier's debt. He only lived but till he was a man, the which no sooner had his prowess confirmed in the inshrinking station where he fought, but like a man he died.
Then he is dead?
Aye, and brought off the field. Your cause of sorrow must not be measured by his worth, for then it hath no end.
Had he his hurts before?
Aye, on the front.
Why then, God's soldier be he. Had I as many sons as I have hairs, I would not wish them to a fairer death, and so his knell is knolled.
He's worth more sorrow than that I'll spend for him.
He's worth no more. They say he parted well and paid his score, and so God be with him. Here comes newer comfort.
Enter Macduff with Macbeth's head. Hail, King, for so thou art. Behold where stands the usurper's accursed head. The time is free. I see thee compassed with thy kingdom's pearl, that speak my salutations in their minds, whose voices I desire aloud with mine. Hail, King of Scotland!
Hail, King of Scotland!
Oh, we shall not spend with large expense of time before we reckon with your several loves, and make us even with you. My thanes and kinsmen henceforth be earls, the first that ever Scotland in such an honour named. what's more to do, which would be planted newly with the time, as calling home our exiled friends abroad that fled the snares of the watchful tyranny, producing forth the cruel ministers of this dead butcher and his fiend-like queen, who, as 'tis thought, by self and violent hands took off her life. This, and what needful else that calls upon us, by the grace of God, we will perform in measure, time, and place. So thanks to all at once, and to each one whom we invite to see us crowned at Scone.
Flourish, exeunt omnes, finis. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, thank you, Vicky, for
Show
putting
and
this
tell
together.
time. If I can interrupt for a minute. Can people see this?
No.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
That is Cawdor Castle.
Oh.
Let me see. Hold on. Well,
As it is now. Certainly not in Macbeth's time.
Where's the owl?
Well, he's hoarse, you know, he's getting some cough drops. So, but yeah, thank you all so much. I do want to just make another slight historical note in terms of course, we know a lot about the curse, but I don't think that actually Richard III gets a lot more press in terms of Shakespeare, I mean, did the official story on Richard III, but also, I mean, that Shakespeare actually did a lot more to sort of misrepresent Macbeth historically, who was a historic king of Scotland for over 15 years, who did not slay Duncan as his guest, but killed him in battle, which was at that time sort of the normal way of doing it. And actually he sort of ran into trouble when he went to Rome to get recognized as defender of the faith, and then which Malcolm got a lot of people up and then beat him and killed him in battle as well. So I just also want to point out that that the actual Macbeth was somewhat different than what Shakespeare portrays, but it's such a great
However,
portrayal.
he wasn't the actual heir to the throne. It was his wife. She was the member of the royal family, and he became the king because he married her, or because he was married to her, he then became king.
So the whole witches and the occult stuff is just an added thing to a story. It has nothing to do with anything.
Well, it was done, it wasn't done for that king, but it was done for another king.
Prophecy.
Was Malcolm
The other
really
interesting
the
thing
son
about
of
it is
Duncan?
that Malcolm Canmore, Malcolm actually is an ancestor of the British royal family and the Scots royal family.
Yeah, that was the theory, that one of the kings in that procession is actually King James himself.
No, well, no. What it
That was-
actually is that the eight Stuart are the eight Stuart kings, and the eighth king is actually Mary, Queen of Scots. And the mirror that she is holding shows all of the then going on kings. But of course, what Shakespeare didn't know was that all of the kings actually who should be in the mirror were German.
Oh, really?
The Stuart line is not directly ancestors of of the British royal family. It was through James's. It was through James's daughter, who was the Electress Palatine, and that's how the Hanoverians then took over 100 years later.
Because I thought it might have been a little shout out to King James, who was in the theater, who would say "Oh, that's me." Like,
that's what I learned in school. He was part of the line.
Yeah, well, I've also heard it sort of said that we don't really know because we don't have the stage manager's notebooks from when they performed it for King James, but some
Did they have
suggest
stage managers?
there's always been stage managers as long as there've been
God
theater. They
bless
may
them.
have not gone under the name of that, but there've always been stage managers, I think, at least managers of the stage. And,
Otherwise, the theater would be in ruins.
yeah, exactly. Wouldn't get
Well, they
that.
didn't do very well with the Globe, did they? They blew the bloody thing up.
No, they
Well, that was the
that's-
house manager's fault.
that was the
crew.
That was the state. That was the cannoneer.
the stage manager, it caught on fire
don't
during
touch other people's
Henry
props.
V or something.
Don't touch other people's props. And some guys hey, I'm gonna touch this cannon. Globe theater's destroyed.
Yeah, see,
So it's
that's why
not
they tell it. But I've also heard it suggested that with all the talk of mirrors, that when it was performed for James, that he's shown up in the mirror as as the king at the end of the line to show that
That's
this
what
is
I would, yeah, that's
a
what I
succession to him.
I've heard that. That sounds awfully David Garrick to me.
Yeah, well, there's lots of stories that we don't have any sort of support for.
Oh, you
except
mean
for
like the rest of the
centuries.
play? We don't have the rest of the play.
Well, yeah, we do, but we also don't have. I mean, this like, oh, the actor who was playing Lady Macbeth died during the first show, and Shakespeare had to go on. And this story didn't come out till like a century later, so I don't know that it's got a lot.
Oh, you mean it wasn't Gwyneth Paltrow?
You know what I read? I read that they started actually to use women in their plays.
No, not for a little while. It was a little, no, and not at that point. It came later during the Restoration, and it was a huge scandal.
Now, who wrote Hecate? Because that wasn't, they say that's not really part of the play, that somebody else wrote
Thomas
that.
Middleton, maybe?
Yeah, it may have been Middleton, or it may have been Fletcher.
Fletcher, right? Yeah.
So why is it? Why?
And all of the witch scenes.
The first
I mean,
folio,
there is an argument that none of the witch scenes are really by Macbeth. You know, by Shakespeare. I mean,
really.
Well, some of them work very, very well with the plot, like the Hecate scene.
I think they agreed, but you know, Shakespeare, right, like some of the other ones that we know about, where he said, "Well, I'll do these scenes, and these scenes, and you do those scenes."
But they rhyme so well often, like, and then they're they're integral. Like, and the Hecate scene does seem to be like added on, like as like an entertainment thing, or like from my impression.
I was gonna say it almost seems like comic relief, like the Porter.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Absolutely, I don't think it's comic relief at all. I think
really? Okay.
part of it was that here you are having all of this stuff about witches, and Hecate was the main witch. It's sort of like, oh, we're having a Christian show all about Christianity, and we don't mention Jesus. I think that it was a part of the mythos. It's just like, okay, Hecate needs to have her due. I mean, that's why she shows
like
up.
Almost religious.
But she has to be the villain, because you're right there at the end of the whole 20-year period, which was the huge religious wars. I mean, and it was the fact it was he had only been the king for about 3 years at this point, and the Catholics were still hoping that the Spanish would bring another armada and take over so that Britain could become Catholics. The only reason he became king was because he was a Protestant. I mean, otherwise they were, it would have, they would have bypassed him if he had followed his mother and stayed Catholic.
Maureen, like you brought up like that like Hecate has her due and everything, and like it like strikes me as like kind of like almost like a religious like ceremonial thing that you would see like in like he did in the Tempest, like a dance or something like that. Yeah. And it's like this play has a reputation for having ill luck attached to it and everything like that.
The writing is very.
If you pray to the devil.
I have a pragmatic theory about that, though.
Okay.
Macbeth is the shortest one of all the plays, so it's probably the one that's the most done. And I think just having by sheer numbers the amount of this show being done, it increases the chance of something going wrong because there's just more of them. And I think because there are more stories attached to it, and over time, we just believe it because it ends up being true just by the numbers. And then added to that things actually do happen. It does. Even I have my own, preconceived.
When I was at the National Theatre, we did a production of Macbeth with Albert Finney and Dorothy Tootin. And the Hecate was actually played by a young teenage actress called Jenny Agutter, who many of you, always makes me laugh, as the Mother Superior on Search. Was it the midwife program? Anyway, and because when I knew her as a kid, she was Hecate, and now she's a nun. But anyway, but the whole point about it is that Peter Hall, who directed it, he gathered the entire company together, and not just the acting company, but the entire National Theatre company in all 3 theatres, and had this long lecture going on about the superstitions of Macbeth, and saying, we will call this play Macbeth. We will call the man Macbeth. She is Lady Macbeth. None of this actor stuff or the Scottish play. It's absolute rubbish. Accidents happen.
So getting back to Hecate, to me, the writing of it just seems very comical and tongue in cheek.
It's
ego
also some of the
thing.
best poetry Shakespeare wrote. So in many ways, you can see that it's written by two different authors.
Yeah, it's darkly different than the dialogue of the other characters for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
And
the
think
other witches are pretty serious, but Hackett seems to just the writing of it. I don't know, whatever.
I do think that Mary made a very good point about, I think the Porter scene actually, I think probably is Shakespeare, because everything that comes out of his mouth is politically motivated. I mean, everything he says has to do with the political situation and the gunpowder plot and all that, and everything. Heck is one thing, but I think Porter is definitely something else.
I like Miguel's theory about the fact that it could be the frequency with which the play is done that perpetuates the idea of the curse. Although when I directed it, we had a couple of very
had a couple of doozies.
Oh yeah, we had a couple doozies. Yet, however, when I directed Midsummer, I ended up losing my Hermia 5 days before we opened. And when I was directing Romeo and Juliet, Stephen knows ended up getting closed a week before we opened because of the COVID. So it's not just, it's theater. It's theater.
I would like to hear some
theater
ideas.
that's cursed.
It's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And also at this time, I think witches were they were a real deal. Like it wasn't ha 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 witches. No, like they were seriously afraid of witches.
Well, they were still burning them at the stake. I mean, they were still doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably a few of them out on my street right now, trick or treating.
Oh yeah. Halloween. Happy Halloween, by the way, everyone.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
That's right. What did I do today?
Yes.
I did a creative thing today. Hold on.
Yeah. But
Miguel,
take off. But it was a pleasure reading with you all. Really.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Good job, Alex.
Excellent job.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you.
We'll get the candy today.
Thanks for this, guys. Bye.
Miguel.
Vicky. See you next time.
Miguel.
And thank
Stand
you.
online outside with the kids and get candy. There was no candy today. Bye-bye.